Ever wondered what true fear feels like when it's not in a movie but in your own home? Tonight, you'll find out. These are real stories of people who came face to face with something they'll never forget. There was a time when I lived completely alone. I had just moved out of my parents' house, before meeting my girlfriend who'd later move in. The place was a small one-bedroom apartment in the lower floor of someone else's house. Most days I was either at work or school, but nights were the hardest. I spent most of them watching movies to fill the silence, mainly horror movies, which in hindsight was a bad idea. Even at 21, I still got spooked sometimes after a scary film. I'd find myself staring at the corners of the room, switching on the bedside lamp just to be sure no one was there. One night, the tenant upstairs wasn't home. His car was gone, so when I began hearing faint noises, I knew they weren't footsteps from above. My nerves tightened. I couldn't tell where the sounds were coming from. Finally, I got up, opened my bedroom door, and looked down the narrow hallway. At the end, near the kitchen, stood someone. The dim moonlight from the living room window revealed the outline of a woman, just standing there, looking straight at me. She began walking backward, eyes still locked on mine. I froze, then screamed and slammed the bedroom door, locking it. There was no running, no pounding, just silence followed by the sound of someone sprinting up the small staircase and the front door slamming shut. I stayed frozen for 10 minutes before creeping out with my phone. The apartment was small and easy to check. No one was there. The next day, I called my landlord, who told me something I'll never forget. The woman was the ex-girlfriend of the upstairs tenant, a violent one, and she had broken into the wrong part of the house. To this day, I still wonder what she was planning to do. I've never liked my dad's girlfriend. Her name is Kathy. My dad's been widowed since 2019, and I know he's lonely. But this woman, she's not right. From the first day, her smile seemed too wide, too forced. I have 2 brothers, Jake who's 10, and Scotty who's 2. A few weeks ago, I caught Kathy in my dad's closet while he was out. She smiled and said, "Hey sweetie," like nothing happened. I told my dad, but he brushed it off. Days later, I saw her coming out of Jake's room. She said she was just opening the window, though both windows were shut. I tried to tell my dad again, and he only asked me to be patient. Then 2 nights ago, I came home unannounced while she was babysitting Scotty. I stayed quiet, but soon heard her yelling, furious, telling Scotty to shut up. I ran downstairs and shouted at her. She looked at me blankly and walked away. That night, I woke up to someone standing in my room. They bolted out the door. I followed, only to see my dad's bedroom door close. When I entered, Kathy and my dad were in bed. I told him what happened. She denied everything. He told me to go back to sleep. I'm still terrified. I don't know what she's capable of. A few years ago, when I was 30, I was at my condo in Fort Lauderdale. It's a quiet area, 2nd floor, nice view. I often go there in winter since I work remotely. That night, around 10, I was outside on the balcony with my laptop when I heard someone shouting, "Hey! You up there?" I looked down and saw a man standing by a car, staring up at me. He said, "Come down here, I've got something cool to show you." I ignored him, assuming he was drunk. But then he laughed and yelled, "I'm gonna come up there and skin you alive, you prick." I ran inside and shut the sliding door. Minutes later, there was banging on my front door, followed by stabbing sounds. When it stopped, I looked through the peephole, knife marks on the door. I called the police, who confirmed what I already knew. The man had been trying to stab through the door. I once spent a night in jail. I swear, I didn't do anything. A bouncer attacked me after a girl lied about me harassing her. I pushed him off, and the cops sided with him. In the cell was a guy covered in tattoos, missing a tooth. He asked what I was in for, and I told him everything, including where I lived. The next night at home, I heard footsteps outside. I turned on the backyard light and saw 2 men running off. One was my cellmate. He must have found my address after hearing my name in court. I never told my parents. I'm not spiritual, but this still scares me. I was dating a guy named Spencer. My grandma never liked him, said she saw darkness in him. After she passed away, I hung her photo in my room. A month later, Spencer and I got back together. The night we officially became a couple, I woke up to a loud crash. The photo of my grandma had fallen and cracked. I stared at it shaking, heart pounding. The next morning, I broke up with him. He screamed at me over the phone, proving my grandma was right. That photo breaking, it felt like a warning. I once went off-roading in Colorado's Red Feather Lakes. I camped in the back of my Jeep, deep in the woods. Late at night, I heard laughter. Not close, but not far either. It echoed through the trees. Then, in a childlike voice, someone said, "Hello, I see you there." I froze, too scared to move. Then a loud bang hit the rear windshield. I jumped into the driver's seat and drove off the trail until I reached a motel. People ask, what if someone needed help? No one deep in those woods laughs in the dark without a flashlight and then slams on your window. They wanted to scare me. One night while home alone, I heard my mom calling me from downstairs. I went down, but she wasn't there. Her voice called again, from the basement. When I went down and turned on the light, she kept calling my name, in the exact same tone, over and over. I ran upstairs, locked the basement door, and called her cell. She answered from the grocery store. Later, we checked the basement together. Nothing. But I'll never forget hearing her voice when she wasn't home. I was 9 when I stayed at my grandma's during a storm. The phone rang, and a man asked if I was alone. Minutes later, someone knocked on the door, yelling for help. When I peeked through the window, he saw me and tried to open it. I hid until my grandma came home. Police were called, but he was never found. I was one locked door away from being taken. Once, while napping, I heard my front door open and close repeatedly. I thought it was my teenage son. Then I heard pounding from my younger son's room. I opened the door and saw a man slamming his head against the wall, blood dripping. My son was hiding under his blanket. I pinned the man down until police came. I've battled sleep paralysis most of my life. But one night was worse than any before. In my dream, I was running through rooms filled with candy while a child laughed behind me. When I woke up, I couldn't move. 4 shadowy figures, a man, woman, boy, and girl, stood in the center of my room laughing. Their smiles stretched impossibly wide. When I finally broke free, I screamed and threw pillows. They vanished. The next day, my doctor adjusted my medication. I still dream of them sometimes.